So I just recently finished talking about the Dark Knight trilogy in my lead up towards Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice. Now it's finally time to talk about Superman in what is so far the first and only movie in the DC Extended Universe, Man of Steel. Now Man of Steel was a movie that a lot of people were generally skeptical about when it was announced. Namely because the last Superman movie we got was Superman Returns, and that movie, well, yeah, So how does this movie stack up? Well, let's talk about that. So this movie opens up on the planet Krypton, and as of right now, this planet is dying. The inhabitants on Krypton have used up all of the planet's natural resources, which has rendered its core unstable, and now the planet is soon going to just blow up and everyone on it is going to die. In the meantime, however, a scientist on Krypton named Jor-El, he and his wife Lara have just had their first son. But what's crazy though is their son, who they named Kal-El, is the first naturally born child on Krypton in centuries. Since then, children are bred in like this lake of life, something like that. They're all given like these designated functions before they are born. You know, some may become warriors or scientists, whatever it might be. Jor-El, however, sees his naturally born son as a sign that Krypton can still live. There are, however, other Kryptonians like General Zod who want to take a different approach in saving Krypton. And that is finding another planet to just rebuild into a new Krypton. Jor-El and the others on Krypton, they try to reason with General Zod, but he is beyond that. With that, Jor-El infuses Kal-El cells with the genetic codex on Krypton for him to escape with. Jor-El and Lara, they place Kal-El into a little spaceship and they send him off to Earth. Zod eventually shows up, he kills Jor-El, but he's unable to stop Kal-El's ship from leaving. So because of their treason, Zod and his crew, they're all sentenced to exile in the Phantom Zone, which they're all transported to in these little space pods that seriously look like big black dicks. Watch that scene, you know I'm not wrong. So with that, Kal-El's spacecraft lands in Smallville on Earth. He's adopted by Jonathan and Martha Kent, they name him Clark. And now throughout this movie, we're given little flashbacks of showing what went on in Kal-El's life when he was a child. And what I really love seeing is the struggle that he went through. Because being an alien from another world, he's not able to really cope with Earth's atmosphere or really connect with any of the human children on Earth. It makes him feel alone for a lot of the movie. It shows how he was picked on, how he spazzed out a lot in the middle of class just because he didn't know how to cope with everything. And then even came one point on a school bus when it crashed into a river and he used his power to save all the children there. But naturally everyone sees that he was able to do that, which has them all thinking, it's like, how was he able to do that? What is he exactly? And that's where the real conflict comes from, because Clark wants to do what he can to help the human race, but he knows, as his dad has told him, that they're not ready to accept him for who he truly is and the abilities that he has. It adds for a lot of real emotion and real conflict in this movie, which I think is great for it. Especially later on in Clark's life, when he and his family are trying to get away from a tornado while driving. Clark and his mom, they're able to escape, but Jonathan Kent, he's still in the car, he can't get out. And by the time he does get out, the tornado is right near him, you know it's gonna suck him right up. And you can see it in Clark's eyes, he's ready to go right after him. He wants to save his dad, but his dad just holds out his hand and just says, no, don't do it. The world is not ready to see it yet. And with that, Jonathan Kent dies from the tornado, which really makes you feel for Clark, because you know that he had the power to save his dad, but he at the same time knows he has to keep that a secret. Then we flash forward later on to his adult life, and he's still trying to find his place in the world. He's been working a lot of odd jobs, just trying to see what might work for him. And one moment that I really love seeing with Clark is you see him in a bar, I think he's working as like a busboy or something like that. And this really drunk trucker comes in with all of his friends, and he's being really inappropriate with one of the waitresses here. You know, he keeps sexually harassing her, he's grabbing at her ass constantly, he's just being a real douche. And Clark just comes up to him, and as nice as he can, just looks at him and he says, hey man, just leave her alone. And this drunk trucker, thinking he's hot shit, decides to just pour his drink all over Clark, and you can just see the anger in Clark's eyes. You can tell, he just wants to take this guy and just rip him the fuck in half, because you know he can do that. But he decides to take a different approach with it. As this trucker is leaving the bar, he notices that his semi has just been impaled straight through this electrical pole outside. We all know how it got there. Which is great though, because you see right there that Superman is a really nice guy, but he's not a pushover. Sometimes it's hard to find that happy medium in movies sometimes, but they pulled it off here, and that worked really well for the character of Superman. In the meantime, Clark has learned from the US military that an alien spacecraft has been discovered somewhere in the Arctic. So Clark decides to go to figure out exactly what it is, because it could be the real key in discovering what he is. He eventually does come across it, and inside here, he's able to communicate with the consciousness of Jor-El. Here, Jor-El tells Clark everything, you know, who he is, where he came from, what happened, and why he was sent to Earth. And Jor-El tells Clark that the reason he and his mother want him to escape is not just so the race could live on, but also so the world could see what good he is capable of doing. Clark, however, is not the only one who knows about this ship. Lois Lane, a journalist for Daily Planet, has also discovered this ship and also wants to learn a little bit about it so she can write a report on it. However, as she goes inside, because she's not Kryptonian, she gets attacked by the ship's security system. Lois gets badly hurt from it, but Clark shows up and through using the heat vision power that he's developed from being on Earth is able to use it to sort of mend to her wound, I guess. So naturally, after being saved by Clark Kent in the way that she was, Lois now wants to write a story about her superhuman savior. Obviously, however, when she tries to tell her editor about it, he just looks at her like, what kind of mushrooms are you on? Which makes sense, because if you tried anyone that some sort of superhuman alien thing saved your life, no one's gonna believe you. In the meantime, after saving Lois, Clark has now truly discovered that he does have these powers of his and now wants to learn to really control them. Knowing that he's adapted in such a way to Earth's atmosphere and its sun, he now decides to try to see what he's capable of doing. And at this point, he's able to learn that he has the ability to fly. And what's really cool is when you do see him flying for the first time, it's really awesome just seeing the excitement and the amazement that's in his face and discovering that he can do this, because that's the reaction anyone would have if they realized they could fly. Eventually, Lois is able to track down Clark to his home in Kansas because she wants to learn a little bit about him so she can write this story. After sitting down and talking to him for a while though, Lois is able to realize that maybe publishing a story and giving Clark all this huge attention is not best for him, so she decides to scrap it. But this was one area of the movie that I think they could have done a lot better. In the moments where we see Clark and Lois, just talking to each other, you can tell the movie is trying to develop this romance between them, but it's not really buyable. I feel this movie could have done a lot better in trying to build a romance between them, because you really don't buy it in this movie. But yeah, even though Lois has decided not to tell the world who Clark really is, someone out there is ready to. And we find out that is General Zod. He and his crew were able to escape from the Phantom Zone after Krypton was destroyed, and now that they have discovered that Kal-El is on Earth, they want him for the genetic codex in his cells. Zod announced that they have 24 hours to bring Kal-El to them, or he's gonna basically destroy the world. And of course, not wanting the Earth to be harmed, Kal-El willingly gives himself up. But Zod's crew also demands that Lois Lane is brought with him as insurance. So now that Kal-El and Zod have finally met, it's time for Zod to explain to him what his intentions are. Zod plans to use some kind of world engine to completely terraform the Earth back into what Krypton was, which will completely destroy the human race in the process. And also intends to use the codex that's in Kal-El's cell to repopulate Krypton. But naturally, Kal-El's thinking, yeah, not on my watch. And what's great about this is we finally get to see Kal-El throwing down with other Kryptonians. It made for a great part in this movie. And I need to touch on Zod's second-in-command, Feora. Dude, she is badass. This chick is just super fast, she can fight super hardcore, and she can harness the atmosphere in her so she can move really far distances when she needs to. It makes her a really, really great fighter. Yo, she's just taking out army soldiers all around her. She's giving Superman a real run for his money. It was great. Eventually, though, Superman is able to stop her, but now he has to take on the World Engine and stop that. And what was really cool about the World Engine is this thing was able to fight against Superman. We using like these Doc Ock tentacles things. It looked really cool, I thought. Superman, however, knows he cannot fight this thing for long because soon enough, this thing is just going to completely eradicate the human race. Eventually, Clark is able to destroy the World Engine, and at the same time, the US military, with the help of Lois Lane, is able to crash Kal-El's ship into Zod's ship to send Zod's crew back into the Phantom Zone. So with that, Earth is now saved, but now there is officially no chance Krypton can ever be restored. With that, General Zod being the only member of his crew left, he's just a little pissed off by that. He just snaps and is all like, yeah, you're all dead. I'm fucking destroying the human race. So now we get to see Superman and Zod just throw down with each other, and it's awesome. The collisions between each other make a giant sonic boom. They're just throwing each other into buildings. They're just flying all over the city. They're shooting heat vision at each other, which they've discovered now. It made for a really intense and really great climatic fight, especially as Zod is growing more and more accustomed to Earth's atmosphere, which makes him that much more powerful against Superman. Superman, however, has been on this Earth his whole life, which gives him that advantage against Zod. Their fight eventually leads into a subway, and here Superman is basically able to get Zod in a headlock, and he has him at his mercy. Superman, however, doesn't want to kill Zod, because that's not what Superman wants to be. With that, Zod now decides to see just how far Superman will go for that. He sees a little family in the subway trying to protect themselves, and Zod just starts fighting firing his heat vision at them. And it's moving closer and closer to the family. You know it's eventually going to kill them unless Superman does something. And Superman, he's completely pleading with Zod. He doesn't want him to do this. He's like, no, please stop. You don't have to do this. And Zod's just all like, never. And with that, Superman just snaps Zod's neck and kills him. But even still, after he kills Zod, it's not like after he snapped his neck, he just teabagged his head and was like, fuck you, motherfucker. No, you see Superman just screaming with agony and the fact that he just had to kill somebody. It shows the true good that is inside Superman and why he is capable of guiding mankind. After this, the US government officially accepts Superman as their ally. And from there, Superman starts working for Daily Planet under his name, Clark Kent. Clark is then introduced to Lois Lane, and you can see right here that even though Lois doesn't say it, she probably knows who Clark really is. So all in all, I think Man of Steel is a good movie. Henry Cavill just kills it as Kal-El, aka Superman. I think he does a great job with it. He does great in making Superman a really nice guy that isn't a pushover and someone who truly can be a savior to the world. I love seeing the real struggle that Superman goes through as a child and as an adult in wanting to help the world without showing the world who he truly is yet because the world isn't ready. I loved Jonathan and Martha Kent in this movie. You really see in this movie how loving and caring parents they are to Clark. Russell Crowe as Jor-El I thought was awesome. I thought he did a really great job in this movie in guiding Superman throughout all this. Amy Adams, I thought, did a really great job as Lois Lane. I mean, she's one of the best actresses out there, and she really did a good job in making Lois Lane this really likable and supportive chick to Superman. My flaws in this movie, however, are, as I said, the romance between Superman and Lois Lane, you don't really buy it. I know, I just never really got a true vibe anywhere in this movie that they fell in love with each other at some point. I imagine that with later movies, their romance will be further developed and it will be more believable. But in this movie itself, I do think they could have done a much better job. And also, Michael Shannon as General Zod, I think he does the job well, but he doesn't own this role. Like, you see a lot of actors who have played comic book villains, like Heath Ledger as the Joker and Tom Hiddleston as Loki. These guys just own these roles. I was hoping Michael Shannon could do the same way, but he really doesn't. And I can see throughout this movie that he is trying to, but it almost seems like he's trying too hard to be a real bad guy. I will find him. I mean, you just hear lines like that, it makes you want to be like, bro, take it down a notch. But I will also say, the action scenes and the fight scenes in this movie were really intense and really awesome to see. The visuals in this movie were also really good. I mean, Zack Snyder directed it, who's a really great visual director, so you know that was probably going to be a positive. And in the end, although it has its flaws, I do think Man of Steel is a good movie. I own this movie on Blu-ray, I watch it every now and then, and I always enjoy it. And there it is, I've officially done my build-up for Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. Now it is just about time to get to Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice itself. I'm going to see it tonight. I've heard a lot of very mixed opinions about it, so I'm very interested in forming my own. I'll have a spoiler up for that soon, so be on the lookout for it. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time.